that the child's trapped under the car and she comes and picks the car up. And they go, well, try and do that again. No matter how good our Kung Fu training is, who's actually pumping weights with cars when they get home? Anyone? Okay, when you're actually on an absolute high on endorphins and all those kind of things, that you actually get a power in the brain and you believe that you can do it, and that's the thing with the mother, they believe that they're going to save the child. What happens? It comes true. Okay. But when it comes to pain, something's very interesting about pain. See, pain starts when we have pressure, intense pressure, or temperature, or it could actually be damage to a tissue. So if I actually scratched my arm, the damage to the tissue would cause me to feel pain. If someone grabbed hold of me tight enough and put pressure on me, I'd feel that. And if you put a hot glass of water or something on my hand, I would actually feel that. But did you know, outside of those senses, I can actually take this, well, I won't personally do it, but if we took the skin off your skull, we can then drill your skull, we can actually play with your brain, we can move it around, poke it, and you would not feel a thing. Who wants to try that? Have we got any demos tonight? Now, who's watched that movie, Silence of the Lambs, with Dr. Hannibal? And he's actually, I think the second sequel, he's actually playing with that person's brain. That actually is possible, because there's no brain sensors. See, past the skin, the body's not actually feeling pain there. Now this is an interesting thing, because what happens is when I do experience that pain, a message comes up to the brain and says, pain. And without going too complex into the neuroscience area, sometimes the reflex is a different part of the brain, and it'll actually it'll let go of something hot before my brain gives it command. That's the body talking to the brain. Or I could actually do another case going, whoa, that's hot, because I visually see, well, that would be hot because there's steam coming off it, and I can send a message down to the hand to let go. So there are some messages that the body reacts automatically compared to what I'm commanding from a brain. But interestingly, if I had pain over a long period of time, I've created the neural networks in my brain to say there's pain. And say I've had something significant and it's with me all day, 24 hours a day. Pain, 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 pain. What happens, the neural network, every time you're firing that sensor, it's getting command, I have pain, I have pain, I have pain. So what happens when we fix the leg or arm or whatever it is? If the wiring's still there and you're still firing it, what happens to the brain? The brain says, I'm feeling pain. So if you look at this, Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, it says, believe it or not, according to neuroscience, placing our attention on pain in the body makes pain exist, because the circuits in the brain that perceive pain become electrical activated. So I have scenarios where we've had patients, and when we've gone and worked with them, there's all the medical testing, and all the medical staff come back and say, you know what, this thing's cured. There's actually the limb or the disease or whatever, the organ, should not be causing any pain. And what's this person screaming about pain? Well, what they've effectively done is they've actually connected that neural network, and they're firing that neural network saying the pain is real. And therefore, is it real? Yeah, absolutely. They're feeling it, because the brain's saying, ah! And they're actually feeling pain, but the doctor says, hold on, there's no issues with the body. So you can actually start seeing where some people are actually having issues, particularly if they've put themselves in a painful situation over a period of time, because the brain's so wired to say that pain's a part of my life, it's very hard then to turn it off. Jeffrey Schwartz and Sharon Begley say the feeling of pain, mere byproduct of the firing of neurons and the release of neurochemicals. So once I've actually got that neurochemical path there and I'm firing it, I will actually release all the chemicals that cause me to feel and experience that pain. Now when you look at pain management, here's a couple of little techniques which is interesting just around the medical research. Firstly, when you're actually going into a meditation state, so what we're talking about when you're going down to a brain wave around the 10 hertz, which we call the alpha brain state. So when you're in a meditation state, you're actually releasing chemicals, particularly the production of something called serotonin. And this is a chemical messenger that actually increases relaxation and eases pain. So it's the command in the brain to say, release, relax. And that's why when you're meditating, what do you feel? Nice and eased and relaxed. So this is starting to show you that you can start doing stuff yourself that allows you to have an experience because it's actually triggering the neurochemicals you need to command the body of what state it needs to be in. Take the other example, it talks about laugh. Who's heard about this laughter yoga? Has anyone tried it? I have actually. It is catchy. But the laughter yoga concept is, as Steve Johnson says here, laughter itself involves a complex array of muscle actions, and there is increasing evidence that it triggers the release of small amounts of endorphins. And endorphins is the chemical that the brain uses as a painkiller. That's our natural painkiller. So if I'm laughing and now painkiller is being released in my brain, I don't necessarily need the external painkiller coming into my body, because where can I actually control it from? My brain. So if I was going home, if I'm finding myself in a really bad state, and there's been cases where people had disease and their body's shutting down, they will go and hire all these funny videos, take them home and just live in that. Kill themselves with laughter, as we say. But what are they actually doing? They're controlling the brain to say what chemicals to release to actually have an impact on the body. I'm giving you these examples just as simple things that you can go away saying, well, if I did this and this and this, I could actually be changing my state. Helpful, isn't it? What's the other one says? It says, for nearly 70% of them missing their arms, hands, legs or feet continue to experience all too real feelings of pressure and pain. Now this is the example where someone's actually lost their arm. So we call this a phantom arm. So when they physically have lost the arm, they still feel the arm. And I think it was week 1 we talked about the case where a person, when they lost their arm, they had their arms, fists clenched. So when they lost the arm, the wiring in the brain was turned on to say, my fist is clenched. So when they lost the arm, they never lost the wiring in the brain that said, my fist is clenched. So they felt the fist. And what happened, you imagine trying to sleep when your fist is clenched all the time. And if you remember what happened there, the doctor that actually helped them came up with something very smart. The doctor said, well, if we can fool the brain to say that limb's there, because one of the issues it had, we could try and send the message down to say undo the hand, but there was no mechanism for a message coming back to the brain to saying, yes, I'm doing it. So this person was always feeling that their fist was clenched. And what he did is he came up with this device. He got a box with the mirrors in it, and as he put in his good hand, you could actually also see another hand. And what he said, now clench both of your fists and put them into the box. And as he did that, what he effectively did is then saw the two hands, so the biofeedback was through his visual sensor, and he said, unclench your hands. And what happened? Unclench the hands, the brain then says unclench, sees the biofeedback, and then he was instantly cured of that pain of the hand. Now remember, all this is because your brain, you've got a better idea of how to control your body with your brain. A lot of people on depression tablets, and I did talk about the case when I just came back working with all the doctors in the Pacific, and when I was working at the Fiji School of Medicine. And there we were actually talking about the major number of depressive drugs, and people are actually saying, yes, you've got depression. Now medical depression is a pretty harsh word, and for those people that weren't there, basically the story was, they'll say, well, at the end of the day, as doctors, a patient comes, they're actually being put on a pretty high pedestal. You've heard that concept, you know, closest to God, because they're saving lives. And when the patient goes to the doctor, they expect two things to occur. They want the doctor to give it a label, and they want the doctor to give them some kind of remedy. So what happens, they try and give them some form of label, and of course the remedy often comes in the form of pharmaceutical drugs. And then the doctor feels he's done the right thing, the patient feels that they've got their label and their drug, and then they go off. But what have they just done? Created a loop of saying, I have depression and I need drugs. And therefore they become a dependence, because if I believe I need that drug, that is what I need. My body then says, that's a belief system, I need that drug. And there's mechanisms that we can actually break that, because where is the best pharmacist in the world?